Hi everyone, welcome back to the next video in our Excel tutorial demonstration series. In this video, we're going to be having a look at question 4 from the week 4 tutorial. So let's get into it. So in question 4, we've been asked to investigate the influence between the relationship, between price and floor area and uncover how the property size influences its value, right? In particular, we've been asked to create a scatter plot for price and floor area, add a trend line, and have a look at its R squared. Okay. So let's have a go at this. Let's see what the relationship is between these two variables. So let's start. We're going to grab the price, the floor area, and we're also going to grab the suburb. Okay. And it'll be clear why in a little bit why we're grabbing this suburb as well. So we'll grab suburb, price, and floor area. And bring this over into question 4. Okay. So to make a scatter graph, relatively straightforward in Excel, we just need to select the range of values that we want to display in our visualization. Something we need to keep in mind before we make our scatter graph is our Y variable that we want to show needs to be to the right of our X variable. Okay. So let's select our data here. We'll start by selecting the top, going down to the bottom. Right. We'll go up here to insert, and then we'll go over to the middle, and we're going to select this chart type here that has all the dots, and we'll go insert scatter, and then we'll select the scatter graph with these dots. Okay, and now we can see what our visualization looks like. Okay. Let's add in some chart elements. Right, let's start by adding in our axis titles. So this is our house price in dollars. And our floor area goes along that x-axis. And the unit for floor area is meters squared. Let's give this a more informative name. This is Perth house price versus floor area. Okay. Using this convention for a scatter graph is perfectly appropriate. Give some information about your sample, and then it's your Y variable versus your X variable. Okay. Now we need to add in a trend line, our equation, and our R squared. So let's have a go at this. We're going to click on our chart, hit this plus icon, and then go down here to trend line. Alternatively, if you click on your chart, go up here into chart design. On the left-hand side, you'll find add chart elements, and you'll be able to put in a trend line as well. Right? So let's put in our trend line. We're going to hit this right arrow here and go down here into more options. And right at the bottom here, we'll find equation and display R squared on chart. Okay, so we're going to click both of these. Okay. Alternatively, if we went into add chart element, we'd click here, go trend line, then go down into more trend line options. And then we'd be able to select these options here as well. Okay. So here we go. It looks like our R squared is about 0.346, and our equation is here. It's house price, which is Y, is equal to 3,472 times the floor area, plus about 63,155, right? So let's have got a few more elements here. So the next part here is to calculate the correlation statistic, right? This is relatively straightforward in Excel. We can use the dedicated formula to work out the correlation. It's equals correl. And we'll select the data for floor area. and then also the data for the price. Okay. And it looks like the correlation here is almost 60%. It's about 58.8%. The next thing we're going to do is this question asks us to square, right? To square our to take the square root of our r squared. Okay. So at the moment, let's write out what our r squared is. 0.3463. Let's take the square root of our r squared, which is our r. So we're going to take the square root of this number here. And what we notice is that the square root of the r squared is just our correlation statistic. They're slightly different because there's actually a little bit of rounding that's occurred here for the r squared. The r squared that gets shown is just the correlation squared. Okay. Let's have a bit more of a look at our chart here, right? Something that you might notice having a look is that it looks as though there's a few different discrete clusters, right? It looks as though there's a cluster up here, and it looks as though there's a cluster down here, right? So something that can happen, particularly when you're dealing with a relatively complicated data set, is sometimes different groups within your data set have different trends. Okay? So it could be the case that for different groups that we have in our data set, they have a different relationship between floor area and house price, right? One that we might expect is the suburb, right? It might be the case that depending on where this house is, there's a different relationship between floor area and house price, okay? So we can actually change our visualization so that we can separately show what this trend looks like based on the different suburbs, okay? So let's have a go at this. We could either do this as a line graph, right? And then show what the average house price is across the suburbs for different groupings of the floor area. But the way I'm going to show you guys is using a scatter graph, okay? So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go up to Insert, and we're going to click on this scatter icon without selecting any of the data, okay? So it's going to give us a blank visualization. We're going to right click on this and go select data. Now we're going to go add, and we're going to add in each suburb separately. So I'm going to select the series name Alexander Heights. My X value is going to be the floor area. So just the data for Alexander Heights floor area. And the Y value is just going to be the house price data for Alexander Heights. When we're happy, we can just hit OK. And we'll just hit OK again, right? And now we can see what the house price looks like just for Alexander Heights. And something that's emerged is this looks like a much tighter relationship than what we initially saw. This looks like it's much more spread out, but this looks like a much tighter, cleaner relationship between floor area and house price. So it looks as though our suspicion of looking at these suburbs separately seems to be worthwhile. So let's add in some elements here. We're going to add in our axis title. That's going to be our floor area. Next, this is for our title here. That's going to be our house price. And this is going to be the Perth house price versus floor area by suburb. Okay. Let's add in a trend line as well. So I'm going to click on my data here, go add, trend line, go down to these options, more options, equation, and R squared. Okay. The first thing we'll notice here about our Alexander Heights is our R squared. The R squared originally was about 0.346. The R squared now is 0.58, so 0.587 or so. That's about a 20% increase in how much of the house price is explained just by separately estimating this for the floor area. Okay. Or just by separately doing it by each of the suburbs, I should say. Right? So let's continue to do this. Let's continue to add in our suburbs into this visualization. Okay. So I'm going to click on my chart, right click, and I'm going to hit select data. And now I'm going to add in the next suburb. So I'll go add. The name of the next suburb is Alfred Cove. The X values here are a floor area. The Y values here are the floor area, sorry, the house price for Alfred Cove. And then I'm just going to hit OK. And then OK again. And look, an entirely different trend has emerged for Alfred Cove. I'm going to click on the data for Alfred Cove, go up to plus, trend line, and then hit this icon here. More options. Go over here to my options here, and then go display equation and R squared. Okay, 0.455. Still quite a bit higher than it was originally. And I'm going to keep going through, continuing to add them. So I'm going to go right click again, select data, add, and then go down here to Alkimos. The X values here will be the floor area, and the Y variables, or the Y values will be the house price. And we'll hit OK. Finally, we're going to add in the last one. So this is going to be Applecross. The X values here will be the floor area. And the Y values here will be the house price. And we'll hit OK. And let's have a look at our visualization. All right. Let's play around with where these are going, make it a little bit cleaner. Let's add in some other trend lines. So I'll do this for my light blue ones. Trend line. Okay, added that in. And now I'm going to do this for my bright green ones, which I assume I haven't added yet. Okay. More options. And I'll display the equation as well. All right. Something we could think about doing is it looks as though some of these observations are making it a bit difficult to tell what's getting displayed. Something we could think about doing is filtering out this observation in particular. It's making it harder to identify what the relationship is, and it's likely a very influential observation because of how far away it is from all the other observations. It's probably pulling down our trend line quite a bit. So we might consider filtering this out, right? But for the time being, this is pretty clear. We can see what's going on. One more thing we need to add is a legend because it's unclear which of these suburbs is which. So we're going to go up to add and then select legend. Alternatively, you could have clicked on your chart, gone to chart design, add chart elements, and then selected legend. Okay. I'm going to get rid of these linear equations, or like these are like linear entries into my legend. They're not really communicating anything, so I'm going to get rid of them. Something else we can play around with is where exactly this legend is going. It's not necessarily best here on the right-hand side. We can right-click on the legend, go Format Legend, and we can play around with where its position is. So we can put it at the top. We can put it at the bottom. That's probably the best place for it. We can put it on the left, the right, or the top right. Okay. The top right's probably the worst because we kind of want to put this legend into place where we can see more of the visualization itself. So I'm going to put this at the bottom. Okay. All right, so there's our visualization. We can see what the relationship is broken up by suburb. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.